Welcome to Cause Before Symptom with your guest host, Josh, also known as the Official Urban. You can follow Urban on Twitter for free resources, ebooks, and notes. Myself and Pastor Carner appreciate each and every one of you who have decided to join us tonight for our live show. Let's get into it.
Guys, how you doing tonight? Welcome back to Cause Before Symptom. It is Labor Day 2024. I wish you all a happy Labor Day. I'm glad to the few of you who tune in tonight. We got a nice capping off to what I've termed the Destruction by Dialectic series. We really want to hit home tonight this idea of destruction by dialectic, or what I've termed the one bad apple spoils the bunch strategy. The idea that you can blow up any type of credible evidence simply by attaching one significantly crazy idea to the argument. So, for instance, the flat earth argument. The second that I make a valid argument, let's say, high-level pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse, MK Ultra experiments that are going on, the second I also admit that I believe the earth is flat, nobody's going to listen to anything I have to say. So we're going to do that tonight. We're going to read Fritz Springmeier's Destruction by Dialectic article. We're going to comment on it. We're going to give you our opinion. Pastor Carner's out tonight camping, enjoying himself for Labor Day. He's out partying it up. I'm at home covering the show for you guys. It is midnight on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, it's not Labor Day yet, but it is on the East Coast. Wild how one half of the country is stuck in a different day. But, guys, there was a video I wanted to show you last episode, which was, I believe, Friday night. We didn't have an episode last night. I ended up having something to do. So we had no episode last night. I didn't really have anything extra planned for you guys. But this video, I really wanted to show you at the end. After we had reviewed both articles, both interviews. Now you're going to hear it from them. From the, I guess, elite Jewish community, that being the scholarly rabbis. We're going to let you hear it from them. And then... if that doesn't say anything, I don't know what will. So take a look at this, guys. This is pretty crazy.
אבל רגע, מה שאני לא מבין, זה כל הגויים הם איך קוראים?
שנייה, אדוני.
בהמות?
אני לך משהו?
אם אין להם ציווי.
אדם זה על שם הדמה לעליון. אדם זה יכול לדמה לאלוקי. אוקיי? זה פירוש אדם. אנחנו הפכנו את זה, זאת אומרת, העם הפך את זה, והאדם, בן אדם, כבר אתה בן אדם, אתה צריך להתנהג כמו בן אדם. אבל עיקרון זה על שם עליון. אדם זה הדמה לעליון, וכיוון שאנחנו בנים של אלוקים, אז הוא קרא לנו בני אדם. עכשיו, הגויים מה שהם, כן? אלוקים עשה אותם בשביל שיעשו פה...
בשביל לשרת את היהודים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש בעולם, המיליארדים האלה, הם הכל רק בשביל... שהיהודים יהיה להם איזה תועלת.
עכשיו,
אנחנו לא רואים את זה, אנחנו לא יודעים בדיוק.
שנייה, כן, היות ואנחנו בגלות, אז אוטומטי עדיין הם עוד לא משרתים אותנו לגמרי, רק חלקית.
כל אחד יהיה לו, כשמשיח יבוא, אז כל אחד יהיה לו...
יהיה לו...
אלפים עבדים. 2,800 עבדים.
בינתיים, המשיח לא כאן, אז איך הם משרתים אותנו?
הם בונים לנו רכבים,
בסדר, לא יודעים.
דירות, בניינים. הם בונים את זה, לנו. משרתים את היהודים.
אבל יש גם יהודים שעושים את זה.
בקושי.
Maybe you shouldn't tell anybody that I said this, but you know all those tropes about Jews controlling the world, or at least wanting to control the world? They're actually true. Our goal as Jewish people for the last 3,300 years since the revelation at Sinai has been to control the world.
The Jews will control the world, whether the Goyim likes it or they hate it. That's a fact. It's written in a book that the Goyim admit that it's the book of God. So there's no argument here.
In Isaiah chapter 63, the day of the great and terrible day of the Lord, it says that the Lord will come out from a place called Edom and he will crush Edom. Now, I'm just a broadcaster here, okay? In Jewish understanding, Edom is really talking about the Christianity.
Asking what's going to be with the Goyim when Mashiach comes. Will they be destroyed and annihilated? Someone asked, who cares? Okay. As a nation, they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. Every individual, no survivors. Not only as a nation they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. As Goyim, they're gone. Their personality, as they exist b'fnei atzmam, as they would exist independently of Klal Yisrael, they don't exist. They're done. In modern terminology, they call it cultural genocide. There's a term for it by the progressives. It's called cultural genocide, and they use the word genocide. So there's the opinion who says v'karka kol b'nei sheis that they'll be annihilated. They basically learn there's going to be cultural genocide. That, you know what, the goyim as they exist as goyim b'fnei atzmam, that's done with. Batul u'mavutul.
The Jews run the show in the world, not because they want, because that's what God wants. And it's written in the Torah that the non-Jews admit that is the word of God. If they didn't admit, what's the proof? But in the Torah it says that in every nation you will always be the highlight of the place. Even though we have very small community compared to America, 300 million Americans, 5 million Jews. There's no comparison. But the Jews are everywhere. Politics. All the assistants of Trump, Jews. All the assistants of Sleepy Joe, Jews. Obama, Jews. Everyone around there. Reform Jews, conservative Jews, Chabadnik, this, convert. It's all somehow. Same thing was in Spain. Same thing was in many different countries.
Instead of hating the Jewish people, you should love us. You should kiss our feet, you fool. We're the chosen people, not you. You should actually look at the truth and understand that the Jewish people are the greatest gift to mankind.
1 week before, one of the great rabbis in Israel, Hasidic rabbi, he came with some people, some of his disciples in the car, and they were coming towards the evening. He didn't want to lose the time of mincha, the prayer of the afternoon. He said, please, can you stop right here? I want to daven, I want to pray mincha here. They prayed mincha with minyan in front of everybody passing in Manhattan. Where? Right there, near the World Center. After he finished the davening, the prayer, he said, say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more. Say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more.
Guys, we're not going to lie. It's pretty damning evidence. I mean, I didn't have to say anything. I just had to play you their own words. We've listened to a lot the past few days. We've heard a lot of different words. We've heard a lot of damning things. And I think hearing it from them is the final nail in the coffin. I think at the very least, we can conclude that some of the members of that community are definitely not good people. Really, it's a shame to see that, but that's the truth. So tonight, we're going to get into Fritz Springmeier's Destruction by Dialectic article. We're going to really hit home this idea of the two-sided argument, the Hegelian dialectic. The Hegelian dialectic is the problem, reaction, solution model, introducing a problem, offering a solution to that problem, and then reaping the synthesis of that problem. Fritz Springmeier, author of the Bloodlines of the Illuminati Handbook, the MK Ultra Handbook, very good author. He's been set up, he's been sent to prison. I say that's battle scars. I think that he definitely hurt somebody pretty bad, and they wanted to cause him some pain. So I trust what Fritz Springmeier has to say. I think he's a good guy. Put in a lot of work, a lot of years doing this work. The article starts off, says "Destruction by Dialectic." The title: How many of the awake community are being suckered into the dialectic? By Fritz Springmeier. I'll leave the article link in the description so you guys can read it yourself. But we're just going to read it tonight. We're going to break it down a little bit. We're going to analyze it, offer you our opinions, and hopefully you guys can navigate the dialectic of what we've showed you, what we've offered you, and you can take the truth in it and leave the rest. The article starts off. It says, I would expect that if your friends were speeding towards a cliff, the question in your mind becomes, what do I say to stop them? Likewise, I ask, how do I explain things so that my friends in the awake community leave the dialectic that will destroy them? Read on to see how well I do. Perhaps we can begin with a review of some basics that many in the awake community know already. First, the world is a stage with events being guided by a, quote, hidden hand. This hidden hand loves to create controlled conflicts using what is known as the Hegelian dialectic to establish the planned synthesis goal, which is the dialectic that I find many being suckered into. Years ago, an Illuminati kingpin bragged to me how they control their opposition, aka the awake community, by the internet. They place their agents in key positions within the movement or in positions of authority and then use the internet to lead people. Leaders who think independently, like myself, get ignored, or if needed, they are targeted with scandalous claims to discredit them. They also muddy the waters of truth so that people give up finding it. And that's exactly what we have seen a little bit of, no doubt, the past few nights in the material that we've covered. It's never reasonable to assume that anything has a 100% truth content. At the very least, you're lucky to find 50% truth in anything you come across. 50% truth max. Believe half of what you see. The world is a stage. So, the waters of truth have been muddied, no doubt. Reusing the Hitler script. The script that created Hitler has been reused to create Vladimir Putin. I will explain. Who is Putin? Before he became known, back in his early years, he was a protege of Klaus Schwab and a friend of Henry Kissinger, whose house he visited. Both Klaus Schwab and Henry Kissinger are Illuminati members. Putin is a member of the Illuminati UR Lodge, along with Kissinger, Angela Merkel, Armand Hammer, and Eduardo, I can't even pronounce that last name, Shevardnadze, to name a few. Angela Merkel played a key role in making Germany dependent on Russian gas. Hitler was known as Der Führer, the leader. So is Putin, who is known in Russia as Vozhd, leader in Russia. Hitler spelled out his plans in Mein Kampf, actually ghostwritten, and then creates the Third Reich. Reich equals empire. Putin has his plans spelled out in Mikhail Yuryev's book, The Third Empire, Russia as It Ought to Be, 2006. Hitler had his Nazi ideology, and Putin in the Russian Orthodox Church, which has been an extension of the Soviet Union of Socialist Republics and the Russian government for many years. The KGB had placed their people into it to run it long ago. So to no surprise that Putin, former head of the KGB, also continues to use it. Let's review the script that brought Hitler to power. Pan-Germanism existed long before Hitler. World War I happens, and the German Empire loses, and the Allies dictate the diktat that strips Germany of 19 colonial areas and 10 areas of Germany proper. A weak democracy followed with hyperinflation and its resulting starvation. Out of this trouble, the German people elect Hitler. Hitler begins taking territory. At first, it is easy. Likewise, the greater Russian concept is an old one. The Soviet Union of Socialist Republics loses the Cold War, and its empire is stripped of 6 Eastern Bloc nations. and also 12 autonomous republics spin off into independent nations. A weak democracy follows, and Yeltsin is directed by the International Monetary Fund, aka an Illuminati-run organization, to give the economy shock therapy, which results in hyperinflation and starvation. Out of this trouble rises Putin. Putin, in line with the book The Third Empire, attacks Georgia in 2008, then annexes Crimea. Now we have a serious crisis in the war with Ukraine, which is the most serious, largest war since the World War II. Yeah, that's crazy. That's pretty interesting. That they literally just used the exact same script. I mean, I guess that's how it's set up. They have these scripts that they know that work, and they just reuse them. You know, they think that people are so stupid. People are sheep. They need to be led, told what to think. So they just reuse the same script. They already know that people are too stupid to do anything about it. Mainstream media script. One of the aspects of how the Illuminati makes scripts is that there will be scripts within scripts. One of these is the liberal script that Trump and Putin are friends, and that Trump supporters are Putin fans. This all goes back to the mainstream media story, aided by Illuminati-controlled FBI and CIA, that Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election. The story is that Putin orchestrated an anti-Hillary operation and a pro-Trump operation via such thing as trolls. Trump is portrayed as a sociopath who loves Putin. Now he is portrayed as endorsing Putin's invasion, rape, and pillaging of Ukraine. Supposedly, Russian trolls mobilized Trump supporters to vote for him in 2016 and helped him steal the election. Hillary complained Trump had stolen the election. Yeah, I mean, right there is the attaching the bad apple to the bunch. You link Trump supporters to Russia supporters. You tie that bad apple in, and by that you just go around criticizing them for supporting Russia, supporting Putin. That's the bad apple spoils the bunch strategy in a whole. I mean, it can be expanded, it can be shrank, it can be made smaller and bigger, but that's the gist of it. There's some truth to these claims. The Russian government does do a lot of propaganda via the internet. The Russian government does have a troll factory in the northwest area of St. Petersburg on Obakov Street, which is named the Internet Research Agency, with the cover that is a software development company researching public opinion. This was first brought to the public attention by Alexandra Garmazapova, which worked there in 2013. The Russian government has tried to divide Americans along our fault lines. Bear in mind that this is an Illuminati agenda. Bill Gates, an Illuminati member, has stated that the political polarization of the United States of America may bring an end to it all by civil war. He ought to know. He is one of the elite planning this and working to bring it about. The mainstream media has said that the political divisions are caused by 1, racism, 2, capitalism, and 3, social media algorithms. Or to say this another way, 1, Trump and white people, 2, people like Trump, and 3, people having freedom to do what they want according to how they think. I would state things this way. Our nation is divided because of Illuminati agents like George Soros and his funding of 1, Antifa, 2, radical socialists like Black Lives Matter leaders, not capitalism, and 3, the Federal Reserve, which has quietly been pulling trillions of dollars to the elite while quietly taking over, control over all the banks. He's got a point, guys. I mean, Fritz Springmeier's got a point. It's all pretty ridiculous. Says, so there's a lot going on with all these scripts running. The awake community is being led to support Putin and parrot Russian propaganda. This discredits the conspiracy community, and it will lead to even more disaster, because these patriots are lining up against not only the U.S. government, which is engaged in stopping Putin in Ukraine, but against most Americans who, I believe in the large part, support the Ukraine in defense of their nation. This is why I cringed when the midterm America First candidates wanted to cut spending, helping of Ukraine. I believe they could have done better if they had remained neutral on the issue. When a fly becomes fixed, it can be swatted. There is nothing wrong about not standing firm, but saying that you'll examine the issue when it needs to be dealt with. Russian lies picked up by the awake community. There are some of the Russian lies picked up by the awake community. Russia's has not tried to defeat Ukraine, but when it does, it will wipe the floor with the United States of America. Ukraine is a Nazi country that sells most of the weapons the North Atlantic Treaty Organization gives it. Now the North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries are defenseless because they've given so much. Putin is really defending the world from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the Illuminati. Reality. Russia's elites are totally corrupt, including Putin. The corruption is systematic as lower levels copy their bosses. Also systematic is yes men. No one wants to say the emperor has no clothes, for if one does, one loses one's job. So their military has been a mess, from poor logistics to poor leadership. Russia has given this war their best, which has been ranging unimpressive to pathetic. It's what I expected because Russia's military has been overrated by the mainstream media. While the 40 nations giving supplies to Ukraine have been generous, I don't know of any that is recklessly defenseless from having given too much. Putin's actions have furthered a number of Illuminati goals: depopulation, traumatization, starvation, and financial distress for all parties. This war is not about Putin's fake reasons. This war is not helping Russia. It is accomplishing Illuminati goals. Putin is not following the teachings of Christ. He may nominally be a Christian, but it is the size of it. If he wanted to get rid of Nazis, he has plenty in his own backyard. Every nation has the right of self-defense. If Red China invaded the United States of America, Americans would defend their nation. They would not say our nation has corrupted, so we can't defend it. All nations have corruption, Ukraine included, but it still has a right to self-defense. Americans would not say some Americans like China better than America, so we have no right to defend our nation. Probably something like 90% of the Ukrainians loathe Putin and Russia. The 10% that likes Putin does not justify Putin. It was the same excuse Hitler repeatedly used. I need to protect the Germans. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt. I mean, I know Russia's kind of in a rut, and it's kind of screwed itself because I don't really think there's any way out of this war now. I mean, I think it's really heavily dependent on this upcoming presidential election, because it would seem that there are some members of our government that are intent on driving this war into a full-on conflict. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and roll a commercial so I can grab a drink, and then we're going to continue the article. So let's go ahead and get a commercial break in.
If you're looking for a publication that delivers honest takes and critical insights into the issues of our day, then look no further than The Flame Paper. The Flame Paper is written for the people, by the people, who aren't afraid to challenge a mainstream narrative, be it healthcare, voter fraud, political correctness, or even the one world government. The Flame is full of timely articles, reports, and expert advice written by freedom-loving, truth-telling experts, journalists, and concerned citizens. To subscribe, go to theflameusa.com.
All right, guys, we're back. We left off right here. It says Russian propaganda has pictured Ukrainians as persecuting Russians and pro-Russian Ukrainians. It would take an article to break down the exaggerations and misrepresentations. Why did Poles and Germans not get along before Hitler invaded? Why do they usually get along today? Without people like Putin and Dugin, etc., aggravating things, as Hitler and the Nazis did, then most people would live in peace. We have plenty to focus on here in the United States of America. We are facing 50 million cameras in this nation hooked to the internet. They carry facial recognition. Everything about each of us is tracked by the beast computers. Soon all of this will be linked to the final piece, CBDCs, programmable digital money, which will give the government total control over your finances and spending. It will match Revelation chapters 13 and 14, where you can't buy or sell without the beast's permission. Our Federal Reserve has been taking over all of our banks quietly. The article ends, it says, America needs you. Don't fall victim to either side's propaganda in this contrived, unnecessary war. Ukraine is not a threat to the USA, so don't treat it as such. Don't act like a traitor to your nation by supporting Russia and its propaganda. The struggle we face in our own nation is daunting. Let's pull together to survive. Let's be peacemakers as Christ asks us to be. and direct our efforts to what's happening here. And that's the end of the article. The idea behind all of this that we have been trying to cover is that we've fallen victim to a dialectic, to a purposeful division of I guess you could say, a two-dimensional system. The left versus the right, good versus evil, Democrat versus Republican. You know, there's different titles for it, but it's the same idea. It's that people have been split into two camps. Those two camps are being played against each other. By doing that, you spoil the whole issue. The issue becomes invalid because no issue can be solved in reality when people are divided. The best words, a house divided against itself cannot stand. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's really a strong quote. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Every issue is more nuanced in reality than it is on paper. It takes a multifaceted approach to solve most issues. So it's just an invalid argument to say that an issue is black and white. So this strategy, going back to the first episode, we covered a radio interview in which purported to be with a rabbi from New York, Rabbi Finkelstein. It was on the Turner Radio Network, which was a white supremacist radio network, which, you know, you can look at that both ways. You can say, oh, well, I shouldn't believe anything that they have to say because they're white supremacists. Or you could say, what was getting them labeled white supremacist and by whom? There's multiple ways to look at it, but what we discovered on the next episode was that it had a lot of crossover between an older interview, Harold Wallace Rosenthal interview, and that interview really had a lot of the same themes. This hostility towards the white race, this idea of a superiority complex, and that's what we heard just earlier when I played you those clips. You didn't hear it from me. You didn't hear it from anyone but them. I've seen other clips of a couple of those guys. Those guys, you know, maybe they're just a small selection of the community, but it makes me wonder, what are they teaching in their schools? What are they learning about? How are they being brainwashed against what they purport to be their enemies, the Goyim, the white race? You know, it's really rare for a person to be able to sit down with some of these rabbis, but I know one person who did was Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell, it surprised me when he would quote these rabbis and these priests behind their title. You know, you would say, oh, you know, they're the Catholic Church, so they believe this, and then you'd be surprised some of the things that he said that they were talking about with him. A lot of these people tend Gnostic. A lot of these people are Gnostics, which is no surprise. A lot of very powerful people, a lot of elites really lean towards that Gnostic religion, and that's what we've really seen with people like Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump's a Gnostic, at the very least. I know James has covered some material on Donald Trump possibly being Aleister Crowley's son. And the more I look at it, the more I almost think it's possible. We live in a upside down world. Pastiche, that's the word, if you guys remember it. It's a word you don't hear very often. It's called pastiche, a mockery, a upside down mockery. For pastiche, Nothing but a dangerous dose of reality can free us now from pastiche. So those are words that'll echo in your mind. This strategy is very evident in society right now. Never in my life would I have thought that people would be arguing over the Earth being round or flat, but here we are. Honest to God, that's irrelevant of which one it really is. Like I said last night, the other night, I don't care which one it is. I think it's ridiculous to worry about such things as whether the Earth is round or flat. So crazy. I had a few other things on the schedule tonight. I did upload a video on the Khazarians on the channel. It's definitely worth a look. It talks more about this issue of the John 8:44, those who say they are Jews but are not and are the synagogue of Satan. They're Khazarians. And I know that I saw somebody ask, what are Khazarians? Khazarians are a group of people from the mid-European region, roughly modern-day Ukraine. And they were not good people. I uploaded on my channel the Khazarian Mafia lectures by Chuck Swindle on YouTube. I re-uploaded them to Rumble. So they're definitely worth a look. Did want to let you guys know about that. Let's see. I'm just looking through some of my old content, some of my old archives to see if there's anything that I should show you guys. I really kind of had a short slate tonight. I didn't really have much other than that article planned. I just wanted to leave some final notes on the two articles that we covered, wrap it all up. Other than that, I just decided to kind of wing it tonight. So I wonder if anyone in the audience has any suggestions, if they have any comments on anything we've covered, and I will try to answer any questions. I know that we've been kind of straightforward. We've just listened to some stuff. We've bounced it around. But I'm going to kind of turn it over to you guys tonight. I'm going to see if you guys have any ideas, try to interact with you guys a little bit. So do you guys have any ideas, any suggestions, any comments on what we've seen so far? Or should I just find some interesting content from my archives and play it for you guys? Which we could definitely do tonight. I got all kinds of stuff saved. Here, I got an idea. Let's see. I'll play one of my edits. I've been trying my hand at editing. So I edit together all these clips that I have. Let's see. We've got a clip of what purports to be a rabbi saying that Donald Trump has been anointed to be either the Jewish Messiah or anointed to help the Jewish Messiah rebuild the third temple in Jerusalem. We know earlier this year they brought their bred cow to Israel to be sacrificed. So this is happening, guys. I mean, it's playing out right in front of us. We got to wake up. We got to see it for what it is. But I edited these clips together, so I'll just play it for you and give you some of my content.
The Jews run the show in the world, not because they want, because that's what God wants. And it's written in the Torah that the non-Jews admit that is the word of God. If they didn't admit, what's the proof? But in the Torah it says that in every nation you will always be the highlight of the place. Even though we have very small community compared to America, 300 million Americans, 5 million Jews. There's no comparison.
1 week before, one of the great rabbis in Israel, Fritz Springmeier, he came with some people, some of his disciples in the car, and they were coming towards the evening. He didn't want to lose the time of Mincha, the prayer of the afternoon. He said, please, can you stop right here? I want to daven, I want to pray Mincha here. They prayed Mincha with Minyan in front of everybody passing in Manhattan, where? Right there, near the World Center. After he finished the daven, the prayer, he said, say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more. Say bye-bye to those buildings because you are not going to see them no more.
But the Jews are everywhere. Politics, all the assistants of Trump, Jews. All the assistants of Sleepy Joe, Jews. Obama, Jews. Everyone around there, Reform Jew, Conservative Jews, Chabadnik, this, convert. It's all somehow. Same thing was in Spain. Same thing was in many different countries.
Instead of hating the Jewish people, you should love us. You should kiss our feet, you fool. We're the chosen people, not you. You should actually look at the truth and understand that the Jewish people are the greatest gift to mankind.
As I reasoned in those videos of 2020, it made no sense that this incredible honor of participating with the Jewish Messiah in the building of the Holy Temple and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth should be given to someone who is undeserving, to someone who represented the ugly side of America. President Donald Trump was the first American president who stood up in defiance to the entrenched and endemic anti-Israel attitude of all previous U.S. administrations towards our presence in the Holy Land.
Even if the United States government would say, okay, hey, you're becoming too fanatic, the government, too religious, we'll give you $1 billion extra every year to the aid, don't touch the churches. We're not allowed to listen to them. God comes before Obama and his friends. You understand? I'm telling you what the laws are. If we are strong enough to do it one day, I doubt it.
But now we are about to move on to the next phase. Thank God.
That we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, and literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
President Trump's right ear was grazed in a symbolic gesture of Exodus 21:6, where the Torah states that a servant who wants to remain with his master needs to have his right ear pierced. Trump was designated as God's servant and anointed one, just like Cyrus the Great almost 2,400 years ago.
President and future President of the United States of America, I'm pleased to announce the second coming of President Donald J. Trump.
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
Guys, it's not looking good. I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking good. You know, I've been able to do a little bit of digging. I've been able to actually confirm that Donald Trump's name has the gematria of 424, which this isn't me saying it. In that video clip you saw, which was a clip of a shorter video, that rabbi actually referenced the same thing. Now, see, here's the trick. The trick is you can't use the name Donald Trump with the Trump. Doesn't work. You got to use his real name. His real name is actually Donald Drumpf, Drumpf, I believe. If you use that spelling, oddly enough, 424, the same as Messiah, son of David. So, Donald Trump might be the son of Crowley, might be the Jewish Messiah. You know, you never know. Odd times we're living in, but did a whole article on it. I'll post that in the description so you guys can check it out. Donald Trump might be the candidate for the one who's going to help to rebuild the third temple. And as Christians, you know, that's what we're supposed to be opposed to. So people are very deceived right now. As to your comment, now that I just saw it, the Jews in Israel right now, are they good Jews? Some of them good Jews? Most Christians seem to side with these Jews. Are there such thing as good Jews? Yeah, there are good Jews, I'm sure. I'm a firm believer that there's good ones and bad ones of every kind, good people and bad people. So every group you find, there's going to be good ones, there's going to be bad ones. But see, what the primary issue is that what you see on the television, what you see on the internet, what you see on the news, when they reference Israel, what are they talking about? Are they talking about the government? Are they talking about the politicians? Are they talking about the citizens? Hell no, they're not talking about the citizens. Nobody gives a shit about the citizens. They're talking about the entity. So the entity is the establishment in any country. When they reference a country, they're really talking about the establishment. They're not talking about the people. They don't give a shit about the people. They never have. They never will. It's never been about the people. It's all a cover. It's all a cleverly worked out scam. You know, they're going to go to this country and they're going to help people. No, that's not what they're doing. That's never been what they're doing. They have people on these teams. These teams, every single person scrambles to get what's best for them. They try to work in their angle. He tries to work in his angle. She tries to work in her angle. Problem, reaction, synthesis, simple. So it's never as simple as it looks on paper. And when it's referenced, as we've heard recently with the DARPA bots and the dead internet theory, that's something that I heavily suggest you guys look into. And if we get another chance to guest host the show, we might do a whole deep dive into that. And we can look at some of the memes of the dead theory account, because I'm starting to think that the whole reason that Elon Musk buys Twitter is to flood the internet with DARPA bots. If you go, you're going to find all kinds of AI accounts, Chat GPT, APIs, all kinds of these fake accounts, and they have blue check marks, which you have to pay for, which is crazy that people are paying for these accounts. It seems like they've got loaded pockets. But yeah, all these accounts have blue check marks. They look legit enough. And a lot of these are just so stupid. They get caught up. But I mean, that's just anyone on the internet. I mean, imagine what the government's got classified, what is not something that we're allowed to know by law. It's probably way more advanced than we think. My estimate is that anything we have or that we know about, the government has at least 10 years in advance that we don't know about. They're probably at least, and that's a very conservative estimate, at least 10 years into the future. So if they're 10 years into the future, What the hell do they got that we don't know about? That's something that we all really need to consider. We also need to consider things that may have before seemed impossible. We're quickly approaching a gray space. The way that I put it is mankind has metaphorically gone blind, where nothing you see you can trust. Can't trust anything you see anymore. Everything on the internet, at least. So I could be as correct as I can by memory, but I didn't have a chance to pull this study up. In 2022, right before the AI boom, it was estimated that approximately 40% of the internet was bot traffic. Now, I have not pulled a study for the newer years, and that study was a few years behind. So I'm guessing maybe the most current statistics we would have would be a year out, so 2023. I'm going to be real with you. About 60% of the internet, probably by this point, is bot traffic. Not all of it AI bots. Some of it just the unsophisticated type click bots, robots, crawler robots, stuff like that. But the conservative estimate would probably be 60% total bot traffic. Probably, if we're being real, 30% of that 60, half, would be advanced AI bots. But, there's no way to be sure. What this does is this allows the establishment to easily reference these internet cases, quote, cases. Let's say that I want you to believe something. I surround you in an echo chamber of that idea. And before long, you're going to conform to that idea. That's basic psychology. People tend to conform. So if I bring you into a room and everyone in the room except you is an actor, and I have all of them put the same idea in your head, say the same clever little words, and you don't know that they're actors, I bet you will come out of that room and you'll say exactly what I've planned for you to say. So that's what they're doing with these AI bots. Elon Musk buys Twitter. They introduce a crap ton of DARPA bots, AI robot accounts to the internet. And I say that with a heavy quote, the internet. They introduce all these fake AI profiles that they control from a central location. I would heavily suggest you guys check out the Shadowgate documentaries by Millennial Millie. Those are some heavy documentaries. They will shock you. But this idea is that they have a centralized program that can give orders, and it's just run by an AI program at this point. It's much more fine-tuned than that. They have a lot of operators who will be dispatched to do certain compartmentalized things. That's the idea, is that it's compartmentalized. These things can be set up and executed without any two parts knowing what they're doing. Nobody will piece the whole thing together. Only the central computer will know, and those at the very top. So I say that it's a very realistic possibility at this point that a good majority of the government is just taking orders from an AI machine. Now, I know that's a little bit off the deep end breakdown, but I think it's time that we consider things that we've never considered before. Now, there's no harm in considering a possibility. Maybe they're not. But, I think it's a good idea because I'm a programmer. I've played with AI a little bit, but I understand how systems work. I know Pastor Corner does as well. I think it's a brilliant idea, at least in theory. I mean, I'll give it to them in that respect. I mean, you have this advanced AI, and the possibilities are endless. What would the possibilities be if you hooked it up to a central computer with the full backing of the CIA, the alphabet agencies, with the ability to give authorized orders. You just, you're a ground unit, cop, FBI, something like that. You just get a little thing pop up on your computer telling you to be somewhere, and that's it. I mean, it's just all given by an AI at this point. I mean, how long before we're at that point? Let's say it's not happening right now. How long before they try it? And the CIA that tried to install a microphone into a cat. Yes, this was real. They spent taxpayer dollars on this. It was a miserable failure of an experiment. But if they're so crazy to try and do that, what's to stop them from hooking up an AI supercomputer to the government computers and just giving it full reign? I think it's something that we should really consider. And it's getting to such a point where things are just so crazy. Who's to say it's not created by just some advanced AI computer? I mean, guys, you're just hearing my thoughts tonight. It's Labor Day, at least where I am. If you're on the West Coast, you're screwed. It's not Labor Day right now. But where I am, it's Labor Day. So I'm just giving you my thoughts. If you guys have any thoughts, you're free to comment them, and I'll respond to them. It's fun to theorize once in a while. It's a crazy world we live in. Things have definitely felt different. So I'm 25. I'm pretty young. Things have definitely felt different since Trump came onto the scene. Everything has kind of shaken up a little bit, and there's a definite break in the timeline. So I truly wonder what the grand finale is going to be like. This year is going to be a monumental year. No matter who wins, no matter who loses, we still have 60 some days, I believe, until election day. So a lot can happen in those 60 some days. But if Trump loses, I doubt he's going to run again. So it may be an end to the Donald Trump era. Guys, I mean, there's a real possibility that Donald Trump will be the trigger to a series of events that will push us collectively off a cliff. It is very evident that the populace of the United States would surrender their firearms. We have the Second Amendment. People are very proud to have the Second Amendment. I think they have concluded that the citizens of the United States will not surrender their firearms. So that leaves only one alternate outcome, and that's that they're going to turn us on each other. That's evident by all the Civil War movies. You've had like 5 by this point, in one way or the other. It's 50% of Americans or something like that now say they think a civil war is inevitable. I see it pop up in the news about it once a week. Civil war this, civil war that. They're just placing the vocabulary in our collective unconscious, our zeitgeist. And that's all it takes to foment one. There's a channel on YouTube, What If Autist. I know that, some people like him, some people don't. The guy is a very brilliant thinker, I'll give him that. What If Autist is a younger guy. He's really, he does these theory videos, but he is a, he studies history, and I can't think of the other word. There's another word I'm looking for, but I can't remember it right now. And he does these historical theories, and he seems to think that there is going to be some type of conflict. Now, I'm not sure when, I'm not sure how, but he actually takes it into a very strange corridor. And I guess that's an interesting thing to bring up now. Good time to, because Donald Trump just recently came out in favor of having the government subsidize in vitro fertilization, which whatever on that. I personally, I think that could be a good idea, but it tells me that they are concerned with a population collapse. And that is the route that What If Altis takes his Civil War unraveling, is population collapse. This idea that if you go and you look at like South Korea, China, these places where they're living in prison states, living in closets, working 12 hours a day, living miserable lives. Nobody wants to have children. I don't blame them. Yeah, there's a population collapse coming. You could chalk it up to a bunch of different things, but let's take a look at the dating pool statistics. The dating pool statistics are heavily tilted to the point that young men have no stake in the dating pool. It's something like 10% of men, 10% of women have a choice of 90% of men, or something like that. It's heavily tilted. And that's because of the internet. That's because of dating apps. That's because of this internet age. But the idea is that people are not having children. People don't want to have children. Young men are virgins until they're in their 30s. That's not healthy, and that is definitely going to push the United States and probably the world into a population issue. And that was his theory up until Donald Trump comes out in favor of IVF. And that's a big thing for Donald Trump to say. Donald Trump, the Republican, the small government Republican, we don't want the government to pay for anything. And he says, yeah, we want IVF. That's interesting. That tells me that they've seen something, that maybe there's a issue with reproductive abilities that they need to address. I don't know. These are fringe theories tonight, guys. We're talking hypothetical. We're in the twilight zone. But it's fun to think. And it's fun to weigh all the different possibilities. The biggest lie that's been purported is that you and I are different. That's my belief. No matter what, we're all part of the human family. We're all human. We all have our own lives with our own struggles, but we're all part of the human family. So anyone that would have you believe that you and I are different, that you and I have something against each other, that would be the person that you should not listen to. The only candidate that I saw, RFK, come out and say, maybe we should consider trying to help people get back together instead of, pushing them further apart. And they wouldn't give him any time. They wouldn't get him on TV. They did not want anything to do with RFK. And then he dropped out and endorsed Trump. Which, here's the thing. I didn't believe it at the time. I was kind of firmly out on that. But if he dropped out and endorsed Trump like that, it was planned that way from the very beginning. And that was a real outcome, a real realistic outcome. It was a strategy by Donald Trump's team. I think the RFK campaign, while I liked the message, I think it was a fine message. And I think in a alternate universe where people were actually sane, maybe somebody like that would get into office. But, we don't have any room for independent candidates. We don't have any room for anyone that's got any sense. Those people can get lost. We don't need those people. Only people who want to fight each other. Those are the ones we got. Have you guys seen the new CNN Kamala Harris interview? I watched it. It was a mess. I think she was drunk. Honestly, I think she was drunk. She was high. Something was wrong with her. It was a mess. I watched a video where there was a body language expert, and he was breaking down the interview. I like stuff like that. I know, maybe it's a acquire taste, but this guy's breaking down her interview and highlighting all of the body language mishaps, and it's just crazy. It was a mess. It was a hot mess. Uh, we're doomed. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that I probably should have come with a little bit more hope, but if Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are the only two options that we got, I mean, I don't know what to say. My point is, we're at a point, and we can only go up or we can go down. Let's say division. Division is our scale. We can bring people back together, or we can divide each other, divide against each other. And it would definitely seem like those in charge of the world are in the firmly in the camp of pushing us apart. And that only goes one way. Civil war. Using the guns against each other. So, I think it would be in our best interest, the American family, to reject all the ideas that make you think that the next person over is any better or worse than you are. Everyone's different, everyone has different issues, but there are certain universals in the, I guess, the collective unconscious, whatever you want to call it, that greater energy field out there, the great unknown. I've come to realize in my life that to a certain extent, while different people have different series of events that push them to a certain feeling. You know, you've had a rough time, so you feel this way, or I've had a rough time, so I feel this way. Well, it was a different series of events that brought us to our emotions at that time. I think a person at rock bottom is a person at rock bottom, and I think you never know when a person is at rock bottom. And to a certain extent, rock bottom today is not rock bottom tomorrow. So, you can't judge a person. You can't consider yourself any greater or lesser to a person. You know, it's definitely something that you have to learn in life. Truly is. You know, some people learn it early, some people learn it later. But no matter what, one day something will come along in life and it will humble you. And it will teach you that it can happen to you. And then after that, hopefully, you learn. And then you go about your life and you see the person fighting it themselves and you realize what it's like to be there. So, you know, I don't judge a book by the cover, but it is only human of us to some extent. You know, some people might master it, but it is human of us to judge other people based on their actions towards others. You know, don't judge a person based on how they look. Judge a person based on their fruits, how they affect others. The three-part method is test each spirit to decipher its fruits. Test each spirit to decipher its fruits. Now, one interesting way of looking at that I've come to realize is think of spirit in a bit of a weird objective sense. Instead of spirit like ghostly spirit, think of it like spirit of Christmas, spirit of Halloween, etc., etc. The spirit, the cheer, the emotion, the collective emotion, that type of spirit. Test each spirit to decipher its fruits. By their fruits, you will know them. So you test each spirit to decipher its fruits. By their fruits, you'll know them. The last one is, you will know the truth and it will set you free. So you will know the truth. By their fruits you will know them. You will know the truth, and it will set you free. Thus, that which sets you free is the truth. So, I believe using that three-part method relatively you can live a relatively good life, but it takes practice. It's definitely something you have to learn, you have to work on, you have to earn it. It's not as simple as it sounds. Right? I agree with you. James, I found James on TikTok, and we just got to talking, and I'm like, if you ever need some help, you want somebody to give you a little hand, I'm here for it. I like what you're doing. And we got to talking, and he invited me in on the project. So here we are. The way that I see it is that whatever I have to say, as random as it might be, that's funny, I'm from Ohio too. Nice to meet you guys. I'm Josh Urban, but my name's Josh. Um, yeah, I get, but back to what I was saying, I get what you mean. This is church in a way. I just say what comes to mind. I don't, to a certain extent, I prepare a setup, but tonight I just had that article to share with you. I just had some comments to make, kind of winging it. So, and that's kind of what I wanted to do to a certain extent. I wanted to interact with the audience a little bit. I wanted to just kind of go off the hinges a little bit. It's Labor Day. Screw it. James will be back tomorrow. He's out partying, so I know he won't mind that we kind of chilled and had a little party tonight. Yeah, that's the thing with James. James, to a certain extent, James is good at what he does with this research. He puts a lot into the shows, but at the end of the day, I think he carries it home when he gets into the zone and he starts going off script a little bit. Every time he does that, I'm with you. I hear a message and it's good. James is a good speaker. I think he's got a gift. So that's what it's about. The modern day gospel story of our lives. We're living in biblical times, but I'm inclined to say that the magic of the Bible, the spirit, the living incarnate word, is that you can open the Bible at any point in history. Anyone that could read, at least. I mean, if you were living in medieval times and you didn't read and only the priest read, so you were lied to, I still think you're saved. But anyone can open the Bible at any point in history and they can take something from it. They can take some valuable lesson from it. And it equally applies at any point in time, any point in history. So whatever that quality is, that's what makes it alive. Now, here's the thing. Full disclosure, my opinions is, while the Bible does this, I believe other religious texts may in fact do it as well. I do. I think that it is just a mystery of our world. I think, where did all of the religions come from? If there's an objective truth, an objective something out there, well, it could be any of them or it could be none of them. Maybe we've never even been close to the truth because it's so outlandish to believe, or, maybe one of the religions is closer than the other. But that's the great mystery. And I would argue that if we knew it wouldn't be meaningful. You know, if we had the truth, you know, it's like we knew the truth and there was no, where did I come from? Why am I here? Microphone. My headset turned off on me. If we didn't know the truth, or if we knew the truth, then there would be no miracle to life. There would be no living experience. So the mystery is valuable to a certain degree. The mystery holds weight. Once you master the subjective view, and that's kind of hitting it back home, this idea of not getting too lost in the dialectic, the two sides. I have heard of that, but I had to laugh at the last part because it's only $20-$30. That's wild. Is it really that cheap? Like, are you sure it's that cheap? I feel like it should be more expensive to die. God. That's funny. But yeah, I've heard of that. It's pastiche. We're living in pastiche, mockery. It's just a mockery of being alive at this point. $20 death. Lord help us. You got to educate yourself. You got to ask questions. You can't give your authority away. That's what I have seen by far. I just read a new, instead of the left versus right political dimension, this guy breaks it into a Myers-Briggs style 4-dimension system, which is interesting because it's really an interesting look into the political sphere, because he breaks down all these different dimensions and he talks about them. But yeah, we'd have to do an episode on that one day. I might have to do more on that because it was really interesting to see. Here, let me see. I have the document here. I'll just read it to you because why not? Outline of a New Political Vocabulary. It's by Dark Age Theorist. So instead of the left versus right, you have like a 4-quadrant, 4 ways. You have interaction, agency, focus, and belief. Interaction, the first quadrant. Really, that's funny. Yeah, that is pretty funny. I notice that all the time. I notice that just odd coincidences like that. Like, same day that I'm looking at something very specific, the person that I encounter down the road later that day is looking at it as well. That's odd. I don't know why that happens. Synchronicities. Interaction, individualist versus collectivist. So that's how you interact with other people. Are you focused on the individual or are you focused on the group? The next one, focus. Where is your focus? The private versus the public. So that would be, your the public, the society as a whole, the private, the person, the individual. The next would be agency, intrinsic versus extrinsic, excuse me. Do you believe that you can fix yourself, Or do you need to look outwards to the group and believe that society has a duty to change you? Agency. The last one is belief. Ambiguous versus certain. So ambiguous belief would be kind of, I would personally argue that a lot of us would be the ambiguous, because we're willing to go out on a limb and test different ideas and consider different possibilities. So that's kind of the ambiguous, and the certain would be the people who think that they're right. People who think they have the one true truth. People that think that they know the answer. You know, I'm the one that knows. You don't know anything. That's belief. But he makes the point that breaking political systems and politics down into these different dimensions instead of left versus right, you can get a better idea of, and it works just like Myers-Briggs. You assign each different political system a four-letter code, like a four-letter key. Here, let me see if I can actually put the image up on screen. It's worth looking at. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, that looks horrible, doesn't it? Jesus Christ. Find your political style, how others see you, or how you see others, sorry. So the individual collectivist. Then you have your goals, V and B, N and X, A and T. And he breaks it down this way. And it's kind of an interesting way to look at things. I know that that's horribly low quality. I did not expect that, but yeah, maybe I'll put that in the description too. Why not? Everything that we'll talk about, I'll throw it in the description. You guys can read it. He published like a mini book on it. It's like 30 pages long. It's not that long, but it's very interesting. I think it, at the very least, is an interesting. Again, it's not the end destination. It's the path of how he got there, how he broke it down, the ways that he was looking at the situation that were interesting. But do you guys have any last thoughts? Anything before we get off of here? I think we covered what I wanted to cover tonight. And I just been rambling on. You guys have been here for it, though, so. I don't know what James has got planned for you next. He'll probably have something interesting when he gets back. You'll probably be seeing some more of me. I know that James wants to continue giving you guys some content while he's gone. I know he deserves a break. He's got a lot on his plate. We all do. He wants to go out and enjoy some time with his family. I'm happy to babysit you guys while he's gone. I'm just kidding. I'm not babysitting you guys, but I am kind of babysitting you guys. I mean, y'all are here giving your time to me. I'm not that interesting. I'm just another average Joe Blow. Hey, if you want me to stay another minute, we'll stay. You guys got to give me some ideas, though. Got to grease the wheels. Let's see. What other tricks do I have in my archive? I have all kinds of crap saved. Not really. Just taking it easy, honestly. It's probably going to be nice tomorrow. I mean, I live in. I can't remember if you said you lived in Ohio. Someone, Boots was the one that said he lived in Ohio. Yeah, it's getting ready to cool down. Finally, it's been crazy hot, but I don't know. Just enjoy the day. Just chill. Really, nothing crazy. What about you? Oh, that's an interesting topic. To the extent that I know about it, it's not much, but I know that the things that they're able to do now are pretty insane. I know that they've really done in my opinion, great damage to reproductive abilities. I think that you're just now starting to see this in younger people, but I say give it 10 years and whatever the hell these people have been briefed on, Donald Trump and all these people, and him coming out for IVF is very surprising. With him being a states' rights guy, the states can do what they want to do. It's very interesting that Donald Trump has come out and said, yeah, the federal government should subsidize IVF. That tells me that they know something is wrong. It's very worrying. But I think the preservatives in the food, cell towers, electronics, all of it together, not one more than the other, all of it together, pharmaceuticals, I think that has really done a great deal of damage to reproductive abilities. And I think, honestly, I would just lump it all in there to a certain degree. That I think all of the crap that they have done to us, the damage that they have done to us, might be to blame, all of it together. That would be a crazy twist of events, but nothing would surprise me at this point. The Trump thing is real. I mean, guys, Donald Trump's possible, like I said, James did that whole video on Trump being Crowley's son, and I gotta say, it makes a lot of sense when you consider Donald Trump loving the black cube symbolism, Trump Tower black cube symbolism, Trump Tower being 666 height, Donald Trump having the gematria of Messiah, Donald Trump's father being Frederick Christ and his mother being Mary, and then all these videos I've got of Donald Trump being said that he's the Jewish Messiah. Something's not right, guys. Something's not right there. Donald Trump is a magician. MAGA, Make America Great Again. MAGA is magic, mage in Latin. Donald Trump is a magician. And it makes a lot of sense in hindsight that Trump be Crowley's son. Guys, if they make it to the Oval Office, they are not a friend to you and me. That's just my 2 cents. I'm 25 years old. What do I know? But if you make it to the Oval Office, your friends are not you and me. Your friends are very powerful people who open their mouth and the world turns. Not you and me. They don't give a crap about you and me unless you got money to donate to their campaign, unless you got something they want, and you and me do not got nothing they want except a vote, and that's what they're after right now. And then once we vote, They're like totally different people. It's a magic spell. It's a complete magic spell. That's all politicians do is magic. If you want to know what real magic is, that's magic. Whatever it allows a politician to get up and they say, what are your plans for the first day you get into office? And lo and behold, they sit here and say every damn thing except what their plans are the first day they're going to get in office. They say everything in the world except that. And then they just know, okay, yeah, that's magic right there. You know, the Disney definition of magic is a disservice to what it really is. But these people are occultists. These people are magicians. These people are schizophrenics, guys. I don't know if you remember the Masters Mayhan podcast. He says Lucifer is a schizophrenic. And boy, that one was profound, because if you really sit back and think about that, they're all just schizophrenics. All these people are just schizophrenics. That's all it is. You know, if you go out and you do a bunch of drugs, the stimulation from those drugs will cause schizophrenia, will cause delusions, paranoia, hallucinations, and that's generally the consensus is that that's usually from a over presence of dopamine stimulation. So the brain, when faced with too much dopamine, translates that extra dopamine into hallucinations, which are false sensory experiences, or delusions, false thoughts, false ideas. So if you go out and you do a bunch of drugs, yeah, you get stimulated and you develop, delusions after a while. What's to say there's any difference between that and money? If I've got $1 billion in the bank and I want to go out and do anything in the world, literally anything in the world, it don't matter. I could go to United States, to China, to Brazil, to India, and one day if I wanted to, just because I want to fill up the atmosphere with carbon. They don't give a shit. But if I had $1 billion, yeah, maybe I would do that. I don't know. See, the ultimate irony, the ultimate gimmick in this society that we have is that we have placed money up on the altar. We have put money up on the altar. We've accepted this false celebrity worship society where we believe these celebrities, these people who got money, these people who got power or fame, we believe that these people are interesting, that this is what I want to be like. And nothing could be further from the truth, because what you gain in this world, you lose in the next. So, you can have all the money, all the power in the world, but you lose your soul in the process. And it truly is a shame that we as a society have been fooled into thinking that those people have anything that we want. Just something to think about. Who knows? Anything could happen before Election Day. I think we got another big twist and turn before Election Day, personally. You want to know my opinion? I don't think we've seen the best of it. Best is yet to come. What do you mean? Like male to female, female to male? In my experience, I mean, I've spoken to a couple males, but it's a lot of females, honestly. It's usually females that I've seen. I'm definitely not saying that it's only females out there, but it's definitely heavily slanted towards the female side. Oh God, yeah. That's kind of interesting. That is a very interesting theory. What the hell well, why were they getting rid of all the bells? Something about that. I mean, very interesting. It's resonance is what it is. So it really, yeah, there really is something behind it. I mean, if you hear a vibration or something, okay. I know you guys. Have you guys heard of the gateway process? I wrote some information on it. I read the breakdown that they published, and primarily of concern was the hemisync idea. And it's really simple, actually. All hemisync is they'll play a solid tone in one ear and a slightly different tone in the other ear. So, like, let's say 120 hertz in one ear, then 126 hertz in the other ear. Hemisync will the two hemispheres of your brain will communicate, and you will hear a wavering, which will be the exact difference in the tones. And you could hear the subtle wavering in the background. It's hard to explain. You just kind of hear it. You don't hear it, but you do. And that, when you hear that, when you focus on that difference, your supposedly your brain, the hemispheres of your brain are acting in unison, and they sync up. So they'll be the same frequency, so they'll sync up and form one larger wave. And the idea of the gateway process is to fine tune that wave like a laser. Whereas a light bulb has different, waves of different frequency bouncing off of it. A laser beam is one steady frequency. So, a laser beam of this many hertz, constant. So that's the idea of the gateway process and the hemisync. But there's this stage to it where you do like a resonant tuning. And it is very interesting. You will kind of, you'll breathe at a steady rate, but you will kind of vibrate your vocal cords on the exhale. So a little bit of a hum. But it's the resonance in that hum. You will get to a point where you can feel your I guess your frequency rise. You really can. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, but I think it has to do with that, the bells. I think that the bells were made at certain frequencies that were beneficial, because why would you construct some giant bell with some frequency that is horrible? Case in point, these bells were created with positive frequencies, and yeah, we know they might want to do away with those. But it is in that ringing of a bell, of a hum. If you kind of sink into that, yeah, the gateway process. If you sink into that ring, that hum, your body will, your vibration of your body will resonate with it. Some people out there don't like it. They think it's hoodoo, evil, whatever. I don't know. I'm into it because I've read the paper on it, and the paper is kind of interesting. It makes a case, and again, it's just a case. I'm not saying this is the truth, but it makes a case for reality being holographic. So a hologram is worth studying. Just the basic idea of what a hologram is. Essentially, you take a laser beam, you split it with a beam splitter, and you kind of bounce or scan an item, and the light that bounces off of that item is directed towards a photographic plate. And then you take the other half of the beam and you kind of let them hit each other on that photographic plate. And when the light that bounces off the object and the split beam intersect, it's like the waves in a pool. If like you drop two pebbles into a pool and the waves will sync up and kind of bounce off of each other. Wave interference. But it's that that interference pattern that's stored on the photographic plate. If you shine a laser through the plate, you get the hologram of the item. And it's brilliant because you can encode all of this information into it. For instance, if you take a hologram of swamp water, you can still see the microscopic organisms in the hologram. It can encode that much information, that much detail. So, perhaps reality is a hologram. So, it's not that simple, but I can see where they're going with it. I can see what they're saying. They make the case that one half of the brain will take in information from the five senses, and then the other half of the brain will kind of condense it down into go, no-go, on-off signals. And so, really makes the case for the brain being a type of computer. Which, you know, maybe you see it, maybe you don't, but I see it to a certain extent. I think the brain is a computer. The most brilliant one we know of, but it's very eerie how similar AI is to a brain. You know, the way that it works, its thought patterns, the idea that, you know, one thought is just some mathematical equation. Appears to us that way, but it's eerily similar. I mean, that much I do know. I don't know. Well, is there anything else, you guys? Any final thoughts? If you got anything else for me to ramble on about? Can ramble on forever, but it is getting late where I'm at, so I am going to wrap it up. Are you guys on the East Coast or on the West Coast? I'm curious. I know James is on the East Coast, or on the West Coast, my bad. Okay, East Coast. Yeah, James on the West Coast, so, and I'm on the East Coast, so it's like midnight here when I start streaming. Okay, so you're on the West Coast. Yeah. I don't know, that's spooky that it's a different day in half of the country. But, I don't know. West Virginia. The internet is wild. You just, you know, you could meet someone in China and be best friends with them. It's just, what a time to be alive. I make the case that I believe that people who were born before the internet have fundamentally different brain chemistry than those who were born after the internet. That being those who can remember a world without the internet. If you were born, yeah, it's 1:40 in the morning here. Yeah, if you were born before the internet, if you can remember a time before the internet, I feel like your brain works a little bit differently than people who can't. Because of that global mindset. You know, when my parents were young, they grew up in a town. You knew everyone in that town. You knew everyone in the town. You went to school with the same people in the town, and that was it. You know, maybe you had some family in some other area, but that was it. I mean, you knew the people in your town. And then the people who were born after the internet, you know, here we are, we're all over the country, and I can talk to anyone, anywhere in the world and feel their pain just like any other human. So it's interesting. It's just such a different worldview, truly. Any final thoughts, guys, before I get out of here? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to play some advertisements. You got an old school flip phone. Oh boy, I remember those. Crazy. Yeah, I remember flip phones. I do, and they just got superseded by iPhones. That truly was a history-defining moment. I'll give it to them. The launch of the iPhone was a history-defining moment. The smartphone was groundbreaking. It's really changed us as a human species, I think. It has just zapped the hell out of our attention span. Guys, this has been Cause Before Symptom. It has been my pleasure to be your guest host for these days. While Pastor Carner's out camping, he'll be back tomorrow. We've covered some wild stuff. Not a problem. We've covered some wild stuff. We hope that you take it with a grain of salt. Think about it. Take what sounds right, you know, what you're comfortable taking, and leave the rest. There's no harm to it. You know, that's just how it works. You're going to hear what you got to hear. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, listening to me ramble on tonight. You guys have a great Labor Day. I'm going to play some ads real quick just to get them done. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good Labor Day. Have a good rest of your night. Take care.
If you're looking for a publication that delivers honest takes and critical insights into the issues of our day, then look no further than The Flame Paper. The Flame Paper is written for the people, by the people, who aren't afraid to challenge a mainstream narrative, be it healthcare, voter fraud, political correctness, or even the one world government. The Flame is full of timely articles, reports, and expert advice written by freedom-loving, truth-telling experts, journalists, and concerned citizens. To subscribe, go to theflameusa.com.
In the 1920s, Rockefeller changed medicine from plant-based to crude oil synthetics. 95% of all pharmaceuticals on the world's market are unnatural and not made for our bodies. A group of elite bloodlines were sharing their daily vitamins and minerals secretly, until now. This is their formula according to the whistleblower. May he rest in peace. Anna Datko and Nicole Orozco, owners of the Flame USA newspaper, partnered with entrepreneur James Carner to create a supplement company that brings the world back to organic plant-based medicine. After years of publishing whistleblower documentation on their Truth newspaper, the team paired up and started their own supplement company and are teaching people about the dangers of modern medicine. Because we are not excreting toxins, it is truly changing our DNA. Check out Elite Potion, what billionaires take now at elitepotion.com. Now, back to Cause Before Symptom with your guest host, Urban.